Hey there, entrepreneurs. My name is Sushant, and welcome to Trep Talks. This is the show where I interview successful e commerce entrepreneurs, business executives, and thought leaders, and ask them questions about their business story and also dive deep into some of the strategies and tactics that they have used to start and grow their businesses. And today, I'm really excited to welcome Howard Law to the show. Howard Law is the co founder of Magnus Home Products. Magnus is an e-commerce business specializing in unique high-end kitchen and bath products that are typically not found in the big box stores. And today I'm going to ask Howard a few questions about his entrepreneurial journey and some of the strategies and tactics that he has used to start and grow his business. So Howard, thank you so much for joining me today at Trep Talks and really appreciate your time. Welcome.
I appreciate it. Enjoy it.
So interesting business. It's an e-commerce business specializing towards home products. Can you share a little bit about your products and then maybe share a little bit about your backstory and what really motivated you to start this business?
Sure. Magnus Home Products, we try to specialize in products for the kitchen and bath that aren't readily available to the general public in big box stores. We try to find things, say, like a kitchen sink. You can typically find, simple standard kitchen sinks in the big box stores. We offer kitchen sinks in a wide range of fire clay, copper, stainless steel, cast iron. Same thing with like bathroom sinks. We offer such things as petrified sinks, teak root sinks, river stone sinks, onyx sinks, things that you're not going to find in your normal store that are going to be kind of statement pieces for a homeowner that has a higher end home that's looking for, the next new and great thing to really make a statement in their home. My partner and I, we both worked at a company that sold similar products, and we were there for a number of years. And it was a small family business that we helped grow into a medium size or large size business. And it ultimately was bought out by a huge corporation. We each independently decided that we didn't have a problem with the big company. We really didn't want that big company feeling. And we decided to go the route of starting our own and trying to recreate that family experience and family feeling. Small cohesive group that everybody's rowing in the same way and has the same objectives, and not have the politics and things like that you end up with big companies. So it was something we were familiar with, but we felt like there was a piece that we could get in that market.
And so your business is completely e-commerce, right? Or do you also have, because you're talking about that home business kind of a small business kind of a feeling, are you able to provide that through the e-commerce channel itself, or do you have like a retail stores also?
No, we're 100% e-commerce.
Okay. So, I mean, it's very interesting, when I talk to e-commerce business owners uh, on their backstory and usually I come across people who get like a new idea and they start a business, but definitely the route of having a career in a field, learning about the business, and then taking that idea and all the knowledge that you have, I think that's definitely an interesting way of starting a business. I mean, when did you start this business, and did you feel that this was a risky way? Because I'm assuming that this kind of a business would require a significant capital investment. Did you feel like that could be a risk when you started?
Yeah, we first started planning about July of 2017. And initially we had a third partner who was an equity partner, who wasn't actively involved in the business, but was, financial backing. That individual, really was still envisioning the early 1990s of e-commerce, where you invested very little money and you reaped huge rewards. It's a different playing field now. There's so many more people out there. So eventually he decided this wasn't the type of thing for him. So Mark and I bought him out. Um, but yeah, it was, a super challenge because you're starting from ground zero. And, we initially started out as a 100% dropship company. So we were dependent upon other companies for all of our product. And, again, starting from ground zero, we had zero images, we had, nothing. We had to create the website. Um, we had to, source the products. Again, we had never been involved in this. My background is sourcing, importing, purchasing, marketing. My business partner is an IT expert. Even just simple things like the first time we had to get a lease for an office space, neither of us had ever been involved with a commercial office lease. Buying the office furniture, et cetera, et cetera. Creating a staff to build the website. Like I said, our first meetings were in July of 2017. We turned the website on in November of 2017. So we felt like it was fairly quick. Um, and the first 2 years, we stayed 100% drop ship. And we could see changes in industry and suppliers and things like that. That being 100% drop ship caused us a lot of issues of out of stock product, things like that. We weren't really able to control our destiny.
Hmm.
So we decided to move into a new location and started with a small 10,000 square foot warehouse and started importing some products, some of the key products um, that were our best sellers. We could hold about 20 containers of product in that warehouse. And that
Hmm.
warehouse lasted us a year and a half, and then we outgrew it. And we moved again into the facility we're in now. We've got about a 40,000 square foot facility, and it's allowed us to greatly expand on what we're doing. Just for 3 years ago, 100% drop ship to now 90% of our product is our own sourced product and imported product. So, quite a directional change, and, allows us more freedom in choosing the products and, better profit margins when you're the ones that importing.
Definitely. So your background was in sourcing, your partner's background was in IT, but it seems like your business has been growing year over year quite rapidly. I mean, is there someone who's doing marketing, or is this really just the fact that you're putting really unique kind of products, and there's these are high end products that have certain demand, and people are naturally searching for these items, and they're coming to buy it.
No, I mean, the landscape has changed so much. There's so many players now in the industries. We're now on, it's one of the biggest challenges we've had is marketing because neither my partner nor myself are experts in it. We're with our third marketing company now, and we really finally felt we've been with him for a couple of years, really feel like he was one of the key pieces that we were missing. He truly understands our market, our products, and what needs to be done. He's working with all the Google ad spend, um, and he's working with the SEO that is extremely important. We've got to start getting backlinks and things like that, and getting the free people to our website free without having to pay Google, because Google keeps getting more and more expensive and more challenging. So we work very closely with him. We're now doing some other things with people doing CRO for us. My partner, Mark, being that he has an IT background, he kind of really gets into some of this stuff with related to the marketing aspect, the more technical stuff. And he's getting into like page layout and things like that, and learning more and more about that.
Awesome. I mean, going back to that risk question, when you started this business, like, did you quit your jobs and you went 100%, or, while the business was still, while you were, launching it and it was a drop shipping business model, was it, were you like on two boards, still have your jobs while, building this?
Um, I I had another job until 6 months ago to
Okay.
supplement income. Um, and my partner Mark, he had a full-time thing also, or another paid thing until not too long ago to help supplement. Because as you said, it's very expensive, and especially when you're buying inventory and that.
When you look back, do you think that this was the right category to get into? I mean, I know that both of you had the background in this, but if you think about like e-commerce businesses that tend to work really well for like small items that are easy to ship and things like that. I mean, I'm assuming like shipping a big bathtub is a Herculean task. I mean,
Well, what's interesting, and again, that wasn't my background, but the operations I've gotten heavily involved in that. I've now designed 3 warehouses, and I know more about forklifts and pickers than I ever really wanted to know about them. But we've had to learn about foam packing machines and the paper machines, and and packaging, and meeting with FedEx and the freight carriers. And surprisingly enough, a bathtub is probably the easiest thing to ship. It's prepackaged from the factory. It's in the box. Literally, all we have to do is put it on a pallet and put a label on it, and it goes out the door. Versus something smaller, like say a pedestal sink. The pedestal sink comes in its box. We now have to have our foam or injection foam machine put foam around it, or pack around paper around it, and pack it in another box. We probably spend 20 minutes packing a pedestal sink, whereas the bathtub is all machine, with a forklift, and it goes out actually very quickly. So it is interesting. Product mix. We tried to swing for the fence and have a lot of different. We've got over 15,000 SKUs, and we're always trying to reimagine ourselves and look at what we can do better. And we are starting to cut back on some of the categories that are less profitable, and we see less return on, and becoming a little more narrowly focused instead of trying to have everything for everybody in that category that we're in.
So I'm assuming that in this kind of a business, it's a huge advantage to have the sourcing background, because without that, I mean, you wouldn't be able to manage inventory and cost without knowing what's uh, what's needed in the market, what's the demand for. I mean, how important or how advantageous do you think your background has been in starting or building this business?
Well, I think it's huge, twofold. One, if you're looking at the cost aspect, um, the landed cost of me buying, again, just using bathtubs as an example, my landed cost that I pay is one half or one third of what I would be paying someone here in the United States if I was buying it from a drop shipper. So I'm putting those profits in my pocket. It also allows me, since when we're selling to the consumer, it's going from the factory to me to the consumer. We're taking out a couple steps. We're able to offer a better retail price and a better value to the consumer for the same product. I know, again, I've worked with these factories for 20 years. I see these products, and they are the exact same product that some of the major brands in the United States are selling, 3, 4, 5 times what I'm selling them for. And it's the identical product, just doesn't have their brand name on it.
Hmm.
And so the consumers can get a great value working with someone like ourselves. And there's a lot of people in our industry that are out there in e-commerce, but the vast majority are not importing themselves. They're just drop shipping. So their retail prices are going to be higher, or their margins are very slim. Um, so that aspect is great. And then the other side of it with me, I feel very strongly about relationship building with my factories. I've been in every single factory that we ever buy from. I believe in boots in the ground, knowing the owners of the factory. You become friends, you become partners in the business. They feel like they're vested in it. And also, I'm on the ground, I'm seeing the new products, the new trends, again, which is so important for us, that I'm not just doing the cookie cutter me too things. Uh, we have a number of exclusive items that we've developed and that have manufactured for us, based on years of experience and customer demand. We listen to our customers, what they need.
And I'm assuming these factories, the products where you're sourcing from are in Asia and China, in those countries, and that gives you a little bit of an advantage also in terms of cost and things like that.
Yeah, I import from Asia, I import from Europe, um, the Middle East. We import from probably 8, 10 countries, but the vast majority right now is Asia.
And your primary markets are mostly North America or just US?
U.S. Mhm.
US only. Okay. Okay. I mean, you mentioned a little bit about competition and the market becoming highly competitive. Similar kind of products available in the market. And you also mentioned that you have a little bit of a differentiation in terms of pricing because you're working directly with factories. What would you say is your value proposition right now in the current market, which is competitive and so forth? And so why does a customer come to your store versus like any other store who maybe working with the same factories and getting the same kind of products?
Right. Again, we try to be very aggressive on our retail prices. And if someone does have a better price, we do price matching if for the same product if it appears to be the same. Some of the other things that we've done to differentiate ourselves, we are the only company in our industry that has a full-time licensed master plumber on staff. Any customer that calls up that has a question on how do I install this? What do I do with this? What does this do? What's the spec for this? Our guy, he's worked in this industry for over 20 years himself. He's a master plumber. He's been in the plumbing industry for 40 years. There is no other company out there that's doing this. And, we're a small company, but for us, customer service is paramount. We want to be treated as if we were calling and it was us. And so we've got more information available to these customers than anybody out there.
Awesome. I mean, while you were talking about it, a business idea that I think may go well with your business is a um, a marketplace of plumbers who are experts at installing your products, which are like so different plumbers can come and add their name to the directory, and in a way they become experts in installing your product. So that it's kind of like, and you can charge them for something, I guess, listing or something. Um, all right. So what has worked in terms of customer acquisition since the beginning? Like when you were getting I mean, I know you mentioned a little bit around Google and ads and so forth. Of course, marketing is changing so rapidly, and now with AI coming into the picture, I'm sure it's going to change so much more in the next 2 to 3 years. How do you see about like, are you the one managing or looking after the marketing? I know you mentioned like a marketing agency, but like in terms of just managing the spend and so forth. And what are your thoughts on what's working, what's not working, and how do you see the future?
Yeah, I mean, Google keeps it as a constantly moving target. Um, and it's extremely expensive with Google. And we're trying to focus now on the longer term things like the SEO, because getting it, and that takes multiple years to really develop that. And we're really just we're into like year number 2 now. We've got to get more people. When we look at our conversion rates, the conversion rates are so much better for the people that are coming in organically.
Hmm.
paid. It blows my mind how much better. So we're pushing in a lot of different ways. We're looking at a lot of new things with that, and new additional companies, because there's so many different aspects of e-commerce marketing. It's not just the Google spend or just the SEO. There's so many different ways you can dice it up. We've talked to people about redeveloping our website, that potentially could cause a better turnover that on customers purchasing. We're looking at, we've not really done much spend outside of Google. We're right now actively looking at working with like Facebook and Pinterest. And we feel for our particular market, Pinterest is probably a really strong source for us, because there's so many people that are looking for ideas on how to do a remodel, and Pinterest is generally looking for unique things. They're not looking for the bathtub that they can get at the big box store, or the sink they're looking for the old time 1800s cast iron sink out of a kitchen that they can put in their bathroom. And they're looking, for other people's ideas and how they've done it and where those resources are. So we think that's going to be an exciting area for us. One thing we learned, at least for us, that was not a good spend on marketing. We used to advertise fairly heavily on Amazon and market our product there. We finally elected to pull out of Amazon totally.
Hmm.
It's extremely expensive to market products on Amazon, and I honestly I question how people do make money with it. But that was something we elected to walk away from.
I wonder, I mean, the answer for that question may be that um, maybe some categories of products work better on Amazon versus other. Maybe more of the smaller and commodity type thing.
Sure.
And that brings me to the second question. Like, do you? I would assume that the big behemoth in this category is a Wayfair, right? Um, do you list your products on Wayfair, or they're like a competitor?
No, we've tried a few things on Wayfair and honestly didn't have a lot of success. And they want, at the time at least when we were working with them, they want to dictate the retail price, and they're generally undercutting you, because they run on really slim margins apparently.
Hmm.
um, their algorithms are strange. One week it'll be a real low price, and then the next week it jumps up. um, so we just didn't see where that was really being beneficial to us. We tried that early on, and decided not to continue with that.
Is a big challenge in this category um, around the fact, and why Wayfair is doing really well is that if you only have an e-commerce business where a customer is looking at let's say a bathtub or a faucet or something, they looked at the pictures and they made a purchase. Then when the product arrived, and they're trying to install it, and maybe they say, okay, this doesn't look really good in this room, or this is not fit for my needs or something, and they want to return the item. I think Wayfair probably makes it really easy. I mean, I think their model is easy returns, and maybe even a lot of the time they just say keep the item and they'll refund the money, because then that's probably one of the reasons of their thin margins and so forth. I mean, do you find that to be a challenge for your business also, where you find that the customer want to see this kind of product in person before making a purchase, or do you allow a really good returns policy and things?
I mean, if someone purchased something, even a bathtub, and they get it and they decide they don't want it, as long as it's in like new conditions and has not been installed, they can return it. They just pay for the return shipping. The shipping, our outbound shipping to the customer is included in our retail price. So, and up to that point, they haven't paid anything for, extra for the shipping. So if they do elect to return it, then that's fine, as long as it comes back, in like new condition. and they pay the return shipping. And again, that's the same thing with Wayfair and Amazon, both. That is a challenge. Amazon and Wayfair are not eating those costs. If they do, if and they tell the person to keep it, they charge the company. So they're charging me back. So I lose 100%. And that's, besides the cost of the marketing and that, you have to have add a substantial amount of percentage of money on your sales that are going to be just lost product because, those type of companies, Amazon, Wayfair, and that, they elect to side with the customer always and just give the stuff away, and then they charge you back regardless, and you have nothing to show for it. So
Hmm.
especially if you're selling expensive items, it can become very, very costly to you. So you have to be very careful.
I mean, I know you did mention a little bit around that you're exploring ways to improve the website or, the technology around the website. In this category, I think there's a lot of different retailers, and I think maybe Wayfair also, that are kind of now trying to utilize in order to overcome this challenge of, how to give the customer a more realistic view of the product, things like AR and VR and these kind of things. Um, are you thinking about something around those lines, or are you thinking about more like personalizing the shopping experience or things like that to make it easy for customers to find and purchase items?
Yeah, the AI or VR. I was at a trade fair just 2 weeks ago, and I was talking to a company in Germany about exactly that. One of the things that we would love to be able to do at some point is for the customer to take and be able to build their bathroom online, choose the wall coverings, the floor finishes, and then place our products in the bathroom or the kitchen, and get an idea what it would look like. Unfortunately, the hurdle is I have, like with our website, we have 15,000 SKUs. Well, for every image right now, like if you're doing a bathtub, you have to have 360-degree views of that bathtub. Well, I don't have the resources to pull 15,000 products out of inventory and take images, a 360-degree image of every
Hmm.
product. It's impossible, especially if we're a small company. If you have 20 products, it's one thing, but we have thousands, and and you have to build this library of all these different products to do that. That's my understanding at this point in time. Um, so we're not right there. We're not there yet. And actually, all the images on our website are all CGI. We actually don't have real photos on our website. It's all computer generated. So we don't even have a starting point for the VR stuff, because at least the discussions I've had, you have to start with something real for them to go from.
Wow, that's really interesting. So, for example, I'm on your website right now and I'm looking at this telephone hand shower with porcelain handle. So you're saying that this image that's on the site is not a real image. This is computer generated.
90, I'd say 95% of the photos on our website or images on our website are CGI. Yeah.
And how does that work? Like, I mean, I don't understand how this image would be created. So somebody
Uh,
said somebody graphic designer creates this, or how does that work?
we have an outside company out of Seattle that we work with, and we have to take some basic photos, or where the manufacturer takes some basic photos just with a cell phone, overhead view, a front view, a side view, an angled view, about 5 or 6 different views, and then we have to send him drawings that have specifications on it so that he knows proportions. And sometimes we've got to take close-up images of a texture or a surface. Sometimes we've sent him like samples of pieces of copper for like our copper sinks and bathtubs that have a hammered finish so he can actually see what it looks like. Some of it's more challenging than others. I mean, some of it's pretty straightforward. And he builds rooms. He has like a portfolio of rooms now, and he'll pick room number 3 to put this bathtub in, and then he makes it look different by different, wall finishes and floor finishes and window placement and, accessories and things like that. And it's pretty neat because he can change the angle and, like, you're not up high enough, and he can just go in there and hit the computer and change the angle and things like that. It really is kind of neat because, again, a company my size, I could never afford to do the photography. I mean, one, you'd have to have a full-time staff of, a couple photographers, a photography assistant, I'd have to have a photo studio, and then you're gonna have to build sets for kitchens and bathrooms. I mean, and I've been involved in that. I was involved in that part of it for many years, managing that. And, that was, that'd be millions and millions of dollars and the time too.
Wow, that's
Excuse me.
so amazing, because I would have never guessed that these are not real photos, to be honest. They look so realistic, and I guess, then the other question I'm also thinking is, I mean, you're saying that taking photographs is more expensive, but I would have thought, creating CGI would be expensive. Like, what is the cost associated with creating like one of images for like one product?
We do usually like 5 or 6 views. We have a beauty shot and 5 or 6 other views, and you're below $500.
Okay, so I mean, still a significant cost. I mean, $500 for
But
one
if I
product is.
if I did a photo shoot with a bathtub, I've got the time to unpack it
Hmm.
up. I got to build a room setting. I got to have a photographer. I got to have somebody clean it and get it all prepped. When you get done, you have to take it and put it back in inventory. You've got two, three, $4,000 invested in that photo easily. So it's a
Wow.
huge savings.
Okay. Wow. That's really amazing.
Yeah.
Um, what have you? So these products that you said previously, are more of statement pieces. They're more high end, or more targeted towards high end customers. What have you learned about your customers so far? Um, is there like a specific customer persona that you have recognized that comes to your specific kind of a website, as opposed to going just to like a home hardware or something like that? And yeah, what have you learned about your customer?
Yeah, our target customer is generally a female, 40 plus years old, higher income, obviously a homeowner, and they've got discretionary income. And, it's somebody, that they may or may not have gotten the kids out of the house now, and it's time for them to, really, deck the house out nice the way they've always wanted it since the kids aren't there destroying it. That type of thing. They've got the discretionary income now. It's not the first person with their first starter home, because that person that's doing a rehab on that, they're conscious of their budget, so they are going to the big box store and getting an economical, bathtub or faucet or whatever. They're going for the builder grade quality, not something that's a little more affluent or unique.
So that's very interesting. So it's female rather than. So do you think that male a male customer would just get their truck and go just drive to their local home hardware and make a purchase
Well,
there?
I mean, I think in most marriages, I think the wife a lot of time is the one driving the trend and style. My wife tells me she wants to do something, with new colors on the wall or whatever. I'm going to follow her lead, and I think that's a generalization, but I think that especially in that age group that's what happening.
Okay. I know on your website you are offering financing or the buy now, pay later platform through a firm. Can you share a little bit about how how well it works in terms of conversion? Like, are there a significant group of customers that do like to use these kind of services, given that you're targeting affluent customers still? And do you see that this helps your business in terms of actually converting customers?
Honestly, we don't see a huge amount of people using it. And again, I think it is because of being a little more affluent. We certainly have some people that take advantage of it, but it's a very small percentage of our total business that does use that.
Okay. I want to talk a little bit about your fulfillment processes. I know you mentioned you have warehouses where you're warehousing all these products. In terms of shipping, I think you mentioned a little bit around working with freight companies and FedEx and so forth. Can you talk a little bit about, what, the whole operations around that, what your shipping looks like? Do you charge your customers for shipping, or is it like, do you have certain policies around that? And also around like your returns policies and so forth. And
Yeah, anything that's over $79 ships for free. Anything $79 or less, we just charge the actual shipping cost that we're charged, and we get a lot better FedEx rate than a consumer walking on the street would get. So it is a discounted rate, but anything over $79, shipping to the customer is included, including all the motor freight items. If someone decides they don't like a product within 90 days, they can return it for full credit minus return shipping as long as it has not been installed or modified. So we try to keep that pretty open for them, and we send them the shipping labels. So all they got to do is keep the original packing and put it back in there and get it back to us. And as soon as we get it back and inspect it, we turn it around. It's only usually from the time it gets to our warehouse a day or two, and they get their refund.
can you share a little bit about your team and what has it been any different given that you're coming from a corporate background? And I don't know, maybe you were a manager, like managing a team of people, but now that you probably have a team of people working for you, how are you managing people, and has it changed? Like, have you experienced some sort of your own personal growth as being the leader of the company versus previously working for a corporation or a business? So,
Right. Well, in the past, I was, focused primarily, on again sourcing and purchasing. So I really could care less. I didn't care about operations and how it integrated or accounting or any of that. That didn't really matter because it didn't affect me on a personal level. So it has been a huge eye-opening experience. Um, as I had said earlier, I mean, we got our first office, and I'm negotiating an office lease, and I had no idea what the terms even meant. Um, you know, Same thing with like healthcare. I manage our health company healthcare. I had never been involved in that. And that's horrible. I have no way to do that. And but it was quite a learning experience. Um, you know, I now, customer service. I kind of help them and give them direction on what they're doing, and that's been really good because I actually do hands-on. I get on phone calls and talk to customers and really get a better feeling of what the customers want and what the customer issues are. So that's been eye-opening. As far as operations, again, for myself, I've now designed 3 warehouses. I knew nothing about racking before this, and I didn't really want to know anything about racking. And I designed the layouts, and we purchased the all the equipment for out there, and so that's been eye opening, and it's a great learning experience. And now I understand how all the pieces fit together. And my partner Mark, he works a lot with, like, again, the technical part of all the marketing, and he handles the accounting and the IT aspects of the business. So we each have our own strengths and weaknesses, and we kind of complement each other. And that part's worked out really well. But having these different people with the different skill sets, it's still managing the people at the end of the day. It's regardless of what department they're in, that all still ends up being pretty much the same. It's the positive thing about having a small company is everybody knows that they are important. They're an integral part of it, and it is a family, and we're all working for the same common goals. So you get less issues, I think, than you typically would have.
Do you, I mean, given that, there's always this, some people debate, entrepreneurs are born versus made. And to me, it seems like you're definitely more on the, made side. So it's almost like, as you're describing it, you had to figure out, I mean, I guess everybody has to figure out as they go. And also entrepreneurship is very, very challenging. I mean, starting your own business, like, would you say that it was a really challenging experience, or was it, you would say it was smooth sailing, given that you had a lot of experience sourcing products and things like that?
I would definitely say it's not for the faint of heart. And I agree with you that there's people that are born entrepreneurs and then others that it's kind of thrust upon them. And I agree with you. I'm on the latter. I personally, I know a lot of people that they have a burning desire. They always wanted to be their own boss and have their own company and do their own thing and live their vision. And I personally never had that burning desire. It was kind of out of necessity, and I'm happy I've had this journey and had the opportunities. But again, it's not necessarily for the faint of heart. There's, there's great rewards and great challenges. You personally, I never in the past had, the pressures. You got all these people and all these families that depend on you, and they depend on the company to be successful. And at the end of the day, it falls on your shoulders. When I was just an officer in a company, if the company had folded, that wasn't my fault, and I didn't tell all the employees that they lost their jobs. And so that part's very challenging.
So, I mean, you mentioned that you definitely enjoy the feeling of a small family kind of a business. What is your vision for your business, let's say 5, 10 years down the road? Do you still want to keep it more of a family kind of a feel, or your goal is really to grow your business to make it like much larger?
Well, I think everybody wants to grow their business, sales dollars wise, because it benefits you personally, when it's your own company. Um, my long-term goals are, I don't have that many more years until I retire.
Hmm.
My partner Mark has several children. We've discussed maybe that he will end up purchasing my portion of it, and it can be handed down from him into his family, and bring his kids into it. They're coming of age now to get out in the workforce and things like that. And we've had one of his sons, actually two of his, one of his sons worked for us full time for a couple of years. Another one did some consulting for us on IT projects. Um, and I think that would be incredible if they were able to do that and continue it on, into the next generation, as it continues to grow.
I mean, that's very interesting that, it's like once you retire, you want to sell your shares, and I guess you want to go on a beach and relax.
There
I
you
mean,
go.
that usually, I mean, that's very different than usually, like, entrepreneurs want to keep control of their business and things like that. But I'm
Life's too.
assuming you don't. I'm
Yeah.
assuming you don't have any children.
I've got one daughter, but she's got her own career, and she's successful in what she's doing. And life's too short. I don't want to work until my last day here. I want to be able to enjoy some.
Definitely, definitely. So in every entrepreneur's journey, there's always mistakes made, lessons learned uh, in the business building process. What has been your biggest mistake or lesson learned or a failure that you learned something out of, and what can other entrepreneurs learn from your from that experience?
Um, we had two things that probably really hurt us more early on. One, when we first started, one, it was kind of a cost saving measure, but also we thought this would be a really good opportunity. Our initial graphic design team was 4 college co-op students.
Hmm.
And in hindsight, I mean, and they worked very hard and they all learned quite a bit on the job experience, but it was at our expense. So
Hmm.
I should have brought on at least one full-time professional graphic designer to maybe lead them a little bit more. So our initial showings, and that was before we were doing CGI, we were dependent more on manufacturers' artwork, and we were having to create artwork in Photoshop and things like that. And it was not the best presentations, and I think that hurt us a bit early on. Um, and then the other aspect I would say is that we should have moved on with the marketing companies. Like I said, we're on our third marketing company now. It would have been nice if we were where we're at now 4 years ago. We had to struggle, and part of that was just the size of the company. Um, most bigger and better marketing organizations won't deal with a small new startup.
Yeah.
Um, and that, that hurt us financially initially because we didn't have the best and brightest, working with us. And, so, we wish we had invested more in the marketing earlier on.
Very, very interesting. Okay. I guess, I mean, part of that reason may also be that, when you're small, you're a little bit more risk averse, right? So maybe you don't want to spend like a big chunk of your budget on towards marketing.
Yeah. Yeah. And, for e-commerce, that's your, it can be you spend more on marketing than you do on product.
Definitely. So now I'm going to move on to our rapid fire segment. And in this segment, I'm going to ask you a few quick questions, and you have to answer them maybe in a one or two words or a sentence or so. So I'll skip the book question. So an innovative product or idea in the current e-commerce, retail, or tech landscape that you feel excited about?
We kind of hit on it before, the virtual reality.
Okay. Do you think about, I mean, are you keeping in line with any of the new things with the AI or chat GPT, any of that? Or that's kind of like you're letting it go?
We're keeping an eye on it. Again, we're so small that, again, cost and all that.
A business or productivity tool or software that you would recommend, or a productivity tip?
Um, Honestly, I couldn't really answer that because I'm not the IT side of our business. I'm
Any,
lucky to be able to turn VCR.
well, I mean, as a CEO, like, do you have any productivity tips? Like, how, I'm sure you have to do things in order to be productive. Like, what's your, what recommendation you would give to a new entrepreneur to be more productive and get more done?
Well, I mean, I've always felt that, when you come in the morning, you always got a list of tasks that's a mile long. I always try to take care of the small, simple tasks instead of handling the big tasks. If I get rid of all the small tasks, then it seems like there's more time for the big tasks. So you
Okay.
need to prioritize.
A startup or business in e-commerce, retail, or tech that you think is currently doing great things. So any different business that you think is doing great things.
There's a company that I'm familiar with a bit. It's called Palm Beach Dino. Really neat company out of Florida. They kind of specialize in high performance Mustangs. And there
Okay.
are so many different things with social media and their product offering and product development. They really got their act together and really doing some neat things in that industry.
Okay. Do you drive Mustang or?
No, no. Just, I'm familiar with these people and and they're out on the weekends with drag racing nationally and using their own product. And um, they do a lot of good things, especially social media and things like that. They're doing a really nice job of being able to promote themselves, which is so important, with e-commerce.
Definitely. A peer entrepreneur or business person whom you look up to or someone who inspires you.
Um, the man that was the co-owner of the company that I left, um, I have the utmost respect for him. Um, and I learned so much over the years from him. And, you know, I'm fortunate that he's still in this area and able to go speak to him when, we have questions and don't know the answer. And he gives us guidance.
Wow, that's really awesome. And final question, best business advice you ever received or you would give to other entrepreneurs?
Um, make sure this is something that you want to be able to do. And, because you're going to be devoting a lot of your life to it, and a lot of your free time.
But the rewards definitely, do you think the rewards are worth it?
There's risk and reward, and the rewards can be great. And you can't look at short term. You've got to look at long term. More not necessarily what you're getting out of the business today, but as you grow the business 10 years from now, if you decide to exit, it's the value of the business that you're really trying to grow, because that's going to be your big reward.
Definitely. Well, Howard, those were all the questions that I had. Really enjoyed talking to you. Thank you so much for your time again. If anybody wants to check out your products, what's the best way they can do that?
They can go online to magnushomeproducts.com and see everything we have.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much again for your time today, for sharing your story, for sharing some business advice. And yeah, really, really appreciated your time and thank you again and wish you all the best.
Okay. Thanks so much. I appreciate it.